Some 15 years after the now late Lord and Lady Freestaff of the Pinewood Estate opened up their grounds to the great unwashed, Pinewood Gardens is now a popular destination for visitors from across the Three Counties region and beyond. But what was once a leisurely stroll through the rolling countryside of Her Majesty's land is now a thrill-seeker's paradise. Yes, you can still ramble across the many acres of Pinewood Manor's scenic gardens, but now also perhaps a punt on the lake, a spin on the Grand Carousel, or try your hand at winning a stuffed toy for your sweetheart. And those of you with more gumption than sense and the fire of Britain in your hearts can take a daring ride on their newest monstrosity, a coasted roller, similar to, this reporter is told, the scenic railways of the United States boardwalks. But scenic it is most definitely not. Be lifted to the heavens by means of a chained lift mechanism with only the gravity and good graces of God to bring you back down to earth. Pinewood Gardens has recently been renamed to Pinewood Hills and is now open through the warmer months on every third Wednesday of the month, with entry costing a shilling or threepence for children and the feeble. Clarence Montgomery for the BBC.
Hello you, welcome to Geekism, and welcome back to Pinewood Hills. The day is drawing to a close here. I thought we'd take one last look around. This entrance sign has stood the test of time, I think. It was the second thing I built, the first thing being the pavilion that we'll see in a moment, just after we get past our tickets and passes. I've set the time to about 4:30 PM, 5 PM. This is when I think the park looks its best, as the sun sets upon it. You get some real great silhouettes in the background. We'll push through the ticket styles as we come into the main plaza area. Here is the first thing we built here with Lady Freestaff still standing proud in the entrance area. This actually got quite a bit of a rebuild when the vintage pack came along, but there's a lot of things still here from the original build, this one being one of them. But a lot of this got a little bit more understated, a little bit more detailed, and just a little bit more sort of classic looking, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. It's probably my favourite area of the park, really, is this little entrance here where you can grab a pushchair or a wheelchair and come and ride our first ride, which is the Grand Carousel. Again, this was retrofitted in. It was originally the two-tier carousel because it's all we had in the game, but then this one came along and fit perfectly. And then you see the beautiful silhouette of Thunderer, our antique wooden coaster, and we'll head down to ride it, I guess. As we do so, we come past Strawford Farm Ice Cream. Again, another thing that I'm really proud of. Little things like this probably is some of the best things I've done. And you just don't really notice them. Now we come via an arcade and past the very popular Skyliner down into Thrilling Fields. Tiki Chiki here, basically keeping this area open, because not only is there a Tiki Chiki restaurant, they actually sponsor the prize walk here. Little Thunderer that we'll ride in a moment. And here we come across Thunderer, originally called Roller Coaster as it first opened, has since been retracked and repainted and everything else to keep it going. This would have been the original entrance here, but obviously as the park developed and the crowds increased, a separate queue line has been added on to the side here, bringing you into the side of the building instead. Let's give it a ride. To accompany Thunderer, we have Little Thunder, now sponsored by Tiki Cheeky. The man himself is outside, having a good little boogie. This is a kid's wooden, off-the-shelf sort of figure-of-8 track. But hey, credit's a credit. You've rode the two woodies in the park, you can grab your photo and then head down into the prom. So this area was pretty much ripped out and rebuilt by the awesome Mike Sheets, and he did an incredible job. Got the lighting just right, the vibe just right. It's absolute vibes down here. This is my favourite area of the park, I think, that I didn't do myself. It's just perfect. We have a really understated bathroom there. We have a couple of slides and a bit of honky-tonk music to go alongside them. You can go up there to the market, get yourself some nummies. A little bit of Ruble Trillion's awesome Midway. We'll be seeing more of him in a moment. There is a ride tucked back here as well, the whip. It's looking awesome in there, very vintage. And then that leads you up into the Pinewood Cinema. Now playing Geekdom Studios, Jubilee Gardens and other parks that bought the farm. And on the other screen, Planet Roller Coaster. But it starts at episode 12, because, you know, that's where it got good. These awesome posters were made by SP Ridley for part of a community project that we did for a while. The project itself was short-lived, but these posters are still incredible. Here's SP Ridley's one, and then the other ones are people who worked on this part. So Ruble Trillions, myself, obviously, and then Mike and John both go together as Bro Coaster. I think this area gives us a great look at the juxtaposition of the two areas meeting and kind of the whole point behind Pinewood, in that it's a decadal park, meaning each of the expansions was to show off a decade of development. Here we have the Pinewood Pier, a sort of classic vintage pier that will most likely have been put in the 40s or 50s. Compared that to the wheel with the Googy sort of signage of the 60s. And there's no better way to see that Googy area than coming through the main entrance past the chair swings and into Sparrow Wharf. Part of this was done by myself, but a lot of this was done by the fantastic Ruble Trillions, who absolutely understood the assignment. All of this brutalist architecture leaning into Googy architecture, really eponymous of the 60s and the American invasion of the UK. As it brings us down into another IP-heavy area with Chief Beast Pit Stop and the drive-through thematically right across from the awesome Speedway. I reckon we should have a ride of the go-karts. Past the Googy area, welcome to the 70s and this fantastic area put together by my good friend John, also known as Mass Bandit. The whole space is meant to be very budget and very sort of generic, and that is his absolute go-to, and has done a incredible job on it as well. We have a pit stop and the corner shop It was originally called the store. We had to correct him, of course. And then a load of flats that really just help and eat some of the guests in the park. So we have the Sizzler here, I think it is, and then over there we have one that we've named the Roctopus. And all of these lead down past the frequent fryers into Arrow, which is a classic roller coaster. Double looper, look at that. Let's give it a ride. The 1980s saw a couple of additions to the park, mostly centered around the addition of this boomerang. We also have Once Upon a Stream, which is a children's fairy tale ride, named as such because the majority of it was built on live streams.
Says they're good.
Yeah, janky's off the chain with that one. But as we exit it, we see the boomerang, and that leads us across to the other side of the sky ride, and then up to the reason we're here. That's Ace's, the boomerang there. Pinewood Manor itself. I always wanted to have a manor on the grounds of the park, very reminiscent of the parks that I grew up with in the UK, Drayton Manor and Alton Towers, both being originally the gardens of manor houses. Here we have the Coach House Cafe that leads us into Pinewood Manor itself. This is built by the incredible Mineral, and I'm very, very grateful for his donation of it. I say that because I think it was already built for another project that never quite made it, so I very happily claimed it and given it a home here. You can peacefully walk around the gardens here, and we have some beautiful views of the hills of Pinewood Hills themselves. And if you come down here, you just see a little bit of janky backstage That's actually the river rapids from the most recent addition to the park. But you could happily spend a little time wandering around here with a nice cup of tea, I think. Garish lights, terrible music, and IP everywhere must mean we're into the 90s edition of the park, which is mostly Gulpy land. This is an IP-heavy area, and the idea here is that Gulpy, the drinks company, have sponsored this area alongside some of the other characters that they have in their arsenal, and just squeeze as many rides as possible in. Cheap, flat rides that they can theme up and have children be wanting to come and ride, and as if by magic we have King Coaster proving our point. Double Drop here is an addition that maybe was once IP themed but now isn't, but then also we have, through all of this mess and vomit and sugary puke, we have the Gulpy Coaster, that little sort of kiddie coaster that we'll ride now. And of course, 5 times a day, you can come and watch the Gulpy show. There they are, giving us a wave. Alright, well, further on into the edge of the park now, and into the most recent addition, which is this lightly themed adventure area. Just to the side of this, we actually have a haunted house that sits back a little bit with some nice little woodland path to get to it. Again, reminiscent of the parks I grew up with, most notably Alton Towers. But here we have the haunted house ride, always a popular one, as you can see from the pretty extensive queue. Luckily, we're the boss, so we can queue jump. And then finally back up to the adventure area here. A couple of flats lead us into this Vekoma SLC, which is pretty much a one-for-one recreation by the awesome Emax Magnus. Has done an incredible job of this one. We'll give it a ride. That was Vulture, which leads us up right to the very corner of the park, and the most recent addition both in the timeline of the park and also in how we built it, and that's the Katanga River Rapids. Again, my nod to the Congo River Rapids of Katanga Canyon at Alton Towers. There's a lot more to see, so you can head over to the Steam Workshop now, download this yourself. There'll also be a link to the images that I've used on billboards throughout the park as well. It's kind of crazy to think that this project is over now after 7 years with a bit of a break in between. It has shaped my YouTube career and has been with me through thick and thin in real life as well. So it's kind of bittersweet to be saying goodbye to it now, but I'm very excited for whatever's next in Planet Coaster 2. But I hope you can believe me when I say that it was genuinely a little difficult to film this today. But I'm proud of what I've done. I'm incredibly thankful for the community for following all this time, and of course to the incredible builders who helped me get this project over the finish line. I'll link to their channels below. If you're not already, you should of course check them out. But that's it for the last time from Pinewood Hills. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next one, be good.